So a question I get asked quite a few times is, what's the relationship between drugs and spirituality? It seems these days there's almost a fashion for, I think they call it microdosing, using magic mushrooms, psilocybin, or in other instances MDMA, ecstasy if you like. And I'm asked, can drugs be used to speed up, if you like, your spiritual enquiry? Well, my honest opinion is that they can be useful in some respects, but through my experience, and as I've spent time in India and I've spent time with different spiritual communities, is it can sometimes be an excuse. So if you're already taking substances, alcohol, drugs, cannabis, and there's a particular spiritual path that uses these substances, it's almost the excuse of joining that spiritual path, and that then it promotes your use and your enjoyment, I suppose, of whatever substance it is that you're taking. Myself in the past, growing up in the north of England, psilocybin, the magic mushrooms, myself and my friends, we experimented with them a little, and it's mind-blowing things, it really is. But even now, as I look back, many years ago now, it wasn't really a recreational thing because it was quite profound. So in that respect, mind-altered states can, in a way, they can leave you to question what you perceive to be as your reality. But there are many pitfalls when it comes to using substances to gain spiritual awareness or even enlightenment. And I've had far too many people that I know, far too many close friends that I know that have died early through the use of drugs. So it's a very fine line, it's a precarious way to approach your spirituality. But I'm speaking from my own perspective. I'm certainly not telling you what to do. It's just through my experience that I share these things. You can change your perspective, your look on the world, by going for a walk, whatever mood, whichever way you're feeling. You can do it physically. If you, in the yoga tradition, they say if you practice an inversion, you go upside down, that you view yourself and the world around you from a different perspective. So this idea that we have of a perceived normality and reality can be challenged just through a day-to-day practice without using any substances. I've got friends that have used ayahuasca, LSD, I know alcohol, and I imbibe, I drink alcohol, I even enjoy getting, slightly inebriated from time to time, but I leave it there. And also, usually I do this as part of, they say, increasing the bar of your mood. But you have to know your limits, your restrictions, moderation. So if you find yourself to be prone to have an addictive personality, addictive nature, which most people do, I have to be honest, well then I would steer clear, or at least I wouldn't look to advance, if that's the right word, my spiritual enquiry through using different substances. It's sometimes called the left-hand path in the yoga tradition, and it does, like I said before, it can heighten your particular mood, or it can change your perception. But are you then drawn to the effects of the substance as opposed to what the substance reveals? So if you are thinking about microdosing or using any of these substances, I would at least explore fully your spirituality, your approach to yourself through spirituality without anything, so you've got a baseline through just simple pranayama and meditation, it can elevate you to different states of consciousness. I know this. My morning practice every morning for the past 20 years, I practice half an hour, 45 minutes of different breath work, pranayama techniques. And if I miss a day, it's not the end of the world, but I realise that just through altering the way that I breathe and the witnessing process of being present with the practice does alter your perceived view on reality. So if you are thinking of trying ayahuasca, LSD, psilocybin, or there's a cornucopia of different drugs and substances out there, well, first and foremost, look for your own truth and your own practice with a clear head, with a clear mind. And if that works for you, well then, is there really any reason to experiment with different substances? I'll say one last thing, because it might sound that I'm being judgmental upon people that use substances. Like I say, I drink alcohol in the past. I've experimented with one or two substances. As I say, usually, you know, from a spiritual perspective. And the people that I've connected with that use drugs, it's very easy for society to look down upon them. Very recently, there's a guy that I know, or I did know, not very well, but, you know, from every now and again I'd bump into him, we'd have a chat, and I knew he'd got his issues with substance abuse, but he was a great guy, a lovely guy. And I'm sharing this with you as well because he's also very spiritually connected, very spiritually inquiring. And through the years when I've met, you know, I've moved through these different societies and different groups of people, that it is usually the more, shall we say, spiritually inclined or aware people that are drawn to misuse of substances, drugs, alcohol, for different reasons, different ways. Sometimes it's to escape this perceived reality. Sometimes it's to heighten your perception, your experience of this world and this body. And so, just as a final say, as I say, I'm not judging anyone. Whatever you take, whatever you do it, you know, hopefully with moderation, with awareness. But people that tend to drawn to substances, they tend to be the more spiritually seeking or spiritually inclined seeking people. But that's, again, it's whichever way that you then define your spirituality, what spirituality actually is. So meditate, sit, pranayama, that the breath work they call it these days. I've had 20 years of practicing and teaching pranayama, and all of a sudden it's become this breath work, but it is transformational and very subtly. So you prepare yourself physically, energetically and mentally for these transitional experiences. So meditate, do your breath work, your pranayama, step out of your usual routines. We're creatures of habit. We walk to work or wherever we're going, usually the same way, or we drive the same way. Sometimes we reach the final destination, self included from time to time, without much memory or thought of actually getting there. How scary is that? So we are creatures of habit, and we sort of we confine ourselves into this perceived reality. So without the use of drugs or substances, just try stepping out maybe of your usual routine. It can be as simple as changing the way that you walk to the shop or you drive to work. It can be wearing something different. It can be getting up earlier. It can be taking a night walk. All these things will reveal the way that you react to the world around you and ultimately to your perceived spirituality. So inquire, but stay safe. Thank you.